Okay, shall we begin?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right. Well, welcome everybody, students, staff, everybody who's come along today. It's really nice to have so much interest in the annual design show. I think it's a real showcase for all students across all levels on STEM modules, and it's really nice to see people putting their work into a format that they want to show off, and that's really why we started doing this 4 years ago. This is our second online show, so we're kind of, with the first two we're both at Milton Keynes on site, but obviously COVID's changed that, so it's been quite a learning curve for us, hasn't it, as a team. And just so that you know, the exhibition team are made up of staff members, a couple of us are associate lecturers, and students. So this is actually a student exhibition. Students get involved and do this, and there's been quite a bit of work put in by all people. So I'll sort of kick off by passing over straight away to Rachel. I think was giving an opening statement for us. Yes, I'm just making sure. So if Rachel's ready to do that, I will pass over to you, if that's okay.
Hi Dawn, thank you. Good evening everyone. So I'm Rachel Slater and I'm Deputy Head of School for the school that houses our design programme. I know our Head of School very much wanted to be here tonight, but he couldn't make it. So I'm here to extend a very warm welcome and just to say what a pleasure it is to be at this event again, but also what a privilege it is to have the opportunity just to say a few words. So as Dawn's just said, it's now the annual design show is now in its 4th year. And I can safely say I think it's one of the highlights of our teaching calendar. I was with Dawn and others at the online launch event last year. And I was really impressed by the quality of entries. And I've had a sneaky preview at some of the entries this year as well. And I can say they're just as impressive, if not more so. And I think for me, I really like this show, and I know it's something that the university is proud of, and I think that's with very good reason. And I just wanted to run through a few of those reasons. So for me, firstly, I think it takes a very inclusive approach. I know many of you will know being an OU student is tough, or can be tough at times. You can feel quite isolated, quite remote. And I think this show is a great way for you to come together and to be able to showcase your own ideas, but also to be able to learn from your peers' ideas as well. And I also think, as Dawn's already touched on, in terms of students getting involved in different levels across STEM, most BRIC universities would have a final year design show. And I think what's really great about this show is that it is open to all students, all design students, whatever stage of study you're at. So if you are studying at stage 1 or at stage 2, you've got the opportunity then to contribute to this show in future years. And I just think that's an amazing way for you to be able to reflect on your design journey and to be able to see how your skills and ideas have grown and developed and changed. And also, you don't have to be taking a design qualification. So as Dawn's just said, there's quite a few students across STEM that take our design modules. So you can get involved in this show, you know, as long as you've taken one of the design modules. It doesn't have to be the design qualification. And I also know it's a popular choice in our open degree programme as well. And Dawn's already said this is very much an event. It's kind of organised by students for students. And for me, I think it's such a great example of co-creation. The fact that some of you have been so heavily involved in organising this event alongside tutors and academics. And I think it's fair to say that the OU often looks to students for feedback and for input, but I think it's very rare to have students involved in such a way in co-creating an event like this. And I think that that's what makes it quite special. So at this point, I'd like to say a huge thank you to the organising team. So to our design students that have been heavily involved. So to Alex, Emily, Hayley and Harriet. And to Dawn, who's just opened up for us, one of our design tutors, and also to Maxim, and of course to Nicole and Georgie, who've been involved as our design academics as well. I think you guys have done an amazing job, and I really hope you sleep well tonight, knowing all the hard work's now done. Now you can enjoy it. So finally, I just wanted to say, I think this is a great way to showcase your talents and your creativity and your innovation. But I also think it's much more than that. I think the year that we've just had, that you're continuing in your studies and you've managed to pull this show together in you know, what's been a truly awful year for a lot of us, and in a continuing pandemic situation, I just think that demonstrates amazing resilience and what effective collaboration, and I just think it's brilliant. So I know the OU is very proud of this show, and I really hope you are too, because you should be. It's just great. So I'd just like to say I hope you have a great evening. Good luck for the competition. I'm looking forward to seeing the winners of the competition, and I'd like to wish you every success in your studies and also your life beyond the OU. Thank you. And I think, am I handing back to Dawn?
You are. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Over to you. Really thanks, Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to hear such positive enthusiasm from staff. I mean, obviously they know what's going on, but it's great to have that given over to students that have taken part, those that have actually put together the exhibition and those that have actually submitted posters. So thanks very much, Rachel, for that. I think now, Georgie, am I right in thinking that you're going to talk a little bit about the modules? Yeah.
Yeah, but very briefly, I just want to encourage, I know that a lot of people in the room are U101 students, and it's fantastic. I hope that you've really enjoyed your year, or if you're one of the 21B students, that you're in the middle of the year and you're still enjoying it. U101 is a really lovely, playful course, and we just love all of the fun ideas that come out of it. I just want to encourage people really to think about the other modules that we have in design. I've just realised I haven't said who I am. My name's Georgie Holden, and I'm the qualification lead for design and innovation. So I have a vested interest in people coming on and doing the design modules, which is yeah. So if you haven't already thought about it, I'd encourage you to think about T217, which if you've enjoyed the playfulness of U101 and you really want to develop your design skills, T217 is a great place to do that. It really does set out what it says, the essentials of design. It uses examples from product design, from architecture, and some other places, but mostly from those two disciplines, to develop your drawing skills, your creative skills, and it's, again, just like U101, there's lots of project work, so but quite a lot of free reign about the way in which you take the project briefs. You'll see in the exhibition some of the ideas that have come out of that course, as you will for T317. So yeah, I'd encourage you to think about it, because the students that do it really get a lot out of it, I think. And then our third level module at the moment is Innovation Designing for Change, which is a module that lots of students take, from not just design students, but students from across the university, and particularly from across STEM. We've got engineers, we've got business students, we've got computing students, also people coming from all over to take the module, because it has quite a strong theme of sustainability in it. We've just revised it, so hopefully it'll be even better than it has been, and it has a major project attached to it, which hopefully if you like design, you'll enjoy project work. So I'd really encourage you to think about taking these modules, and wish you well in the decisions that you make in future for your studies. We are going gradually to be designing new design curriculum to try and have even more design courses, but that's going to take a little bit of time. But some of you who are at the start of your journey might benefit from that a bit later on. So that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Georgie. That's great. Hopefully that gives a little bit of background information for students that are thinking about progressing onto the next modules. You can always email any of us, I should think, at any time if you've got any questions or about future modules. Most of us will just who teach, if we teach across them, can answer questions for you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at, I'm sure most of you will be happy to know who the winners are for the modules, and then once we've done that, we'll launch the sites. You can go off and have a look at the site, and then we'll reconvene here for a really interesting discussion that's been put together by one of our staff tutors. So we're looking at what we do is we all vote on winners. Make the decisions on various reasons on what the information is in the posters, and we don't just choose a winner for each module. We also look and select highly commended. What it doesn't do is mean that the rest of the work isn't great, because it is, and it's an incredibly hard job for us to make decisions about what is what we're voting on as great to sort of fulfill that criteria of a winner or not. So be aware of that, because it's amazing what we see, and some of this work that's coming in, it blows us away. So we're really impressed across the board with all the work that comes in, and it gets better and better every year, and I'm sure that everybody else would agree with me on that that's involved. Okay, so for year 101, module U101, design thinking, which is just, we have some highly commended pieces of work, and I'd like to congratulate Megan, if Megan's here, Emily and Emma for the work that they've put in and has been selected as being highly commended. I don't know if any of the team want to sort of comment on these. They're all very different projects, and I think that's probably why they are highly commended, and the diversity is probably why they've been part of the reasoning why they're selected. And they're all very different ideas, and what you will find is these are all uploaded on the site. You can go in and you'll see these are all full, you can click on and blow them up and look at them and read all about the information. So remember, the posters have been put together by the students, designed to communicate the design and showing the design in the best way that they feel is most appropriate and possible for the visual communication. So we have in the first one, we have an expanding pot, an expanding plant pot, really interesting. It's lovely to read about these, so please go and read about these. Then we have Unity, which is much more of a community detailed site that is a lot of information to have a look through in images, so go and have a look at that one. And then the all-inclusive is to do with the good old shopping trolley. I don't know if any students are here that are any of those, and if you do want to say, something, then please, you are very welcome to. So
I think we have Megan.
We have, yeah. There's no requirement to it. If you'd like to say something, then it would be really nice to hear from any student, anybody who would like to talk a little bit about it, or
yeah, please, Megan.
Me? I don't really know what to say about it. It came from the project, the Bridge Builders project.
Ah.
It just came from that. I tried to think of a way that it could join people together and they would be able to make an income from it. They would be able to build a community. And then the more I thought about it and the more I got involved in it, I thought that it would actually really be a good idea. You know, they could be taught skills. It would let the community get to know them. They could even have, like, maybe, because food fairs are a big thing, street food. People love to go to festivals and things, and it could potentially be a way that if they did get their citizenship and were allowed to stay in the country, that maybe potential employers could see them that maybe worked in cafes or restaurants and maybe think about employing them. So it kind of became more and more of a bigger thing than it was supposed to be.
I was going to just say, did you find it snowballed when you started with something and then all of a sudden it just kicked in loads more information, ideas, and you just found it was really opening up for you, finding lots more that you could add to it?
It did, yeah, and I like the fact that I got to think about designing it as a website. So I went on and I had a look at Adobe XD, and I watched loads of hours of tutorials of how to make like a wireframe and then turn that into an actual prototype. So I actually made it into a fully functioning prototyping website where you could click through the different. But obviously I couldn't showcase that in a poster, so I could only take a few of the web pages that I would say are the most important and then put it on a poster. But it was bigger than what was on the poster.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic that you actually wanted to do that and that you ended up taking it to that extent. That's amazing. Well done. Is anybody else here that'd like to say anything? That was really nice to hear about. No, that's fine. I'm keeping an eye on the chat box, but if anybody else spots anything that I missed while I'm scrolling, then please let me know.
I'll let you know as well if someone is suggesting it.
Thanks. Okay. So for U101, we have a joint winners. I think that probably reflects how difficult it is for us to decide as well. Two very different projects, and congratulations to CJ, Mickey, and Forrest, if Forrest is here. Yes, you could got your hands over your mouth now, I can see.
Oh, wow.
Well done.
Someone is very surprised and happy. That's good to see.
That is so good.
I was not expecting that. Wow.
Well done. Be really proud. You should be really proud. We're all really proud of you and everybody that does this exhibition. So,
oh my gosh.
Well,
yeah, I was definitely not expecting that. I was sitting here like enjoying this. I was expecting to learn from everybody else who won. So this actually means a lot.
You're going to have to teach us then.
I'm really happy. Congratulations.
Wow. Okay.
It's I think with this particular idea, I love the topic, the service, the topic that you chose.
Thank you. It was an important. I've worked in the cattle industry. I used to own a ranch in Wyoming for several years, and so I'm very, very familiar with the cattle industry. And I wanted to create a game. So obviously, when working through TMA3, that was something I wanted to work on, and it was familiar to me. But I wanted to make that something that was family friendly, educational. But still fun. Yeah, so that's just like, that's absolutely it blows my mind.
Well, there you go.
So thank you so much. That's that means so much.
You don't need to thank us. It's obviously a team that make the choice, and it's based on the strength and the decisions and the reasoning behind things. It's as I say, it's a multitude of things, and it doesn't and obviously undermine anybody else's work. But there are some interesting things that draw us into this.
Thank you.
And really, really nice piece of work. So please, everybody, go and look at this one, read a bit more about it, and it's nice to see that it's made you a little bit emotional in a nice way.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, like I was definitely not expecting that tonight. So thank you. Like, yeah, a really good night for Thursday night. So okay. And is Forrest here? I don't know if Forrest is here, but Forrest,
with the tumble rider, which is very different, very different, but really I think great fun. And I think this was I think the visual communication for this was, you know, really nicely stylized, but and really well, yes, very well communicated, as Nikki just said. And it's a great idea of combining play with an activity, something to achieve something. So if Forrest wants to speak, please just put a note in the chat box and we will, you know, you can do, but it's a great, another great idea. Okay, so that's our U101 winners, and make sure I get onto the right slide. Okay, so the next module is T217. And again, we have some highly commended examples here to start with. And this is, I'm presuming I pronounced this correctly, apologies if I don't, that's Juan and Justine. So Juan with the Beehive Kitchen, and Justine with the project for Ditchling Beacon, which is really nice. Both very different projects again, and they're really interesting. Beautifully communicated. For those of you that studied U101, hopefully it gives you, if that are here, you will get a flavour from looking at this of the types of work that we do at T217. These projects, these are two separate projects that come up. But really nicely produced. The Beehive Kitchen, you can obviously tell where that theme is coming from, and the Ditchling Beacon is a final project for this module, very site specific, with a kind of a leaning towards conservation and various other things. I don't know if either of the students are here, but if you are, again, just pop a note in the text box, and we can you can talk if you'd like to. I'm not seeing anything, so I'm going to move on to the winners for this. So these are, again, we have, I think, do we have, I can't remember now, excuse me, I'm just gonna have to move my slides along. Right, hang on a minute, I just have to scroll my toolbar along here. There we go. And hopefully this will appear now. So we have the next one is, we have one winner for T217. And this is Shana Wildgoose. I don't know if Shana's here at all. No, maybe not. The idea of the plantain. Again, really nicely communicated. Fun idea. Oh, have we got some extra people joining at the minute? That may, are we backtracking?
No, yeah, kind of. Forrest has just joined.
Shall I go back?
Just for a second, and then we go back to Shama, because her design is obviously absolutely amazing. Okay. And Shama, maybe you can write something in the chat, and we go back to Forrest just for now.
That's okay, because if we'll just go back, if Forrest is just, I'll just click back on. So there we go. Forrest, if you've just joined us, you were joint winner for U101, along with CJ, for your project for the Tumble Rider. We thought it was great fun, and I don't know whether you want to talk about it at all.
Forrest, do you have a mic? Can you say something? Would you like to say something? Sorry to be putting you on the spot, but congratulations.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hi, how's it going, guys? Sorry I'm late.
No problem at all. We really like your poster, the way you visually communicated this, and it's a really fun idea. It combines, you know, the sort of fun with a sort of an activity with doing something constructive. So I don't know whether you want to give us a bit of information about what triggered this, what idea at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think like, obviously because of the brief, I did quite like obviously what was it? It was building bridges between people in temporary. So anyway, sorry, apologies. So I tried to frame it a little bit more and look at kind of the topic of refugees living in remote circumstances. I think the tone of that topic was quite. It can be quite an emotional one, and something I did see, kind of in the footage that I saw, that there's a lot of children.
Yeah.
You've got obviously the target audience. You know, children make up such a large portion of refugees and people living in temporary circumstances. I wanted to try and create a solution that could maybe cater to them. But then I did also look at flat pack shelters that IKEA had produced. And I kind of took a lot of inspiration from the simplicity of that design and kind of took that forward with the idea of trying to make child's play equipment. So that's where that first started. So that started with kind of like a flat pack playground, but then obviously it developed more and more. And then I looked at how could you use the energy, the kinetic energy from children's play equipment to maybe rotate or move objects or items. And then that kind of also tumbled into the idea of making like a washing machine and trying to adapt a child's tricycle into a washing machine. And then that was quite nice, because then you had obviously quite the positive area of kind of play and children, with the very kind of real and rational kind of area of obviously just laundry and looking after oneself.
Mm. And there's a fitness element to it as well, if you think about it, isn't there? I could do with one because it'd do me good.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Save electricity. Obviously, it's, it could be for, first world environment as well.
I think this idea of where it came from is really interesting, because it's quite a serious subject, Terry, as you said, but the way it's been communicated and comes over in it, I think that the sort of fun niceness of it is what really helps to lift it, because it could be quite somber if you're thinking about it, but it's not. And I think that's you've dealt with it in a really sort of sensitive way and looks at it in a positive manner, and that's great. So well done.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
You burned it. Okay, well done. Okay, right, I'll move back on to the T217 winner. Sorry about that to Shana. I can see you've oh, thank you, Shana, you've just given it away. That was your tutor, not that anything to do with me at all. We all vote anonymously. So but your project, do you want to have a chat about it at all, or are you just happy to? It's up to you.
I think the mic is not working.
Oh, okay.
Should we read it out? Do you want to read out?
Do you want me to read it out, or do you want to?
I can. So I enjoyed the project so much. I made a full-size prototype, but couldn't showcase that on the poster. Dawn, you were a brilliant tutor too, I have to say. That your tutorials were inspiring. There you go. I tried to grow my own fruit and veg, but they either grow huge very fast or die straight away. So there is no in between. And so I wanted to create something that could make growing food much more fun, stylish and straightforward. Thanks so much, and congrats to all the other winners and entries.
Yeah, well done, Chana. That's great, and it's true. She did produce a prototype. It was part of the project, and the from what I remember, it was lots of silver foil involved to make it look like metal. I'm sure she'll correct me if I'm wrong, but it was it's a great idea, well put together, and you've done a great job of visually communicating it in this poster. Actually, without that prototype, it explains it really well, and that way, and it really appealed to the whole team because of that. So well done. Okay, so on to the T317 innovation module, the final level. Okay, so we have our highly commended, which is Barry. I'm not quite sure how to. I think is it Coughlin. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. We were really quite taken with this idea. I mean, how well it was put together. Are you here, Barry? If so, do you want to just type us a little message? That would be useful. The footrad. This is to do. You probably can't see it from this, but this is actually to do with someone who really enjoys what's it called? Wild swimming. Not quite sure if that's the right term. Swimming in all weathers, in all conditions. Outdoors. I think that's what it is. And the issue with when getting changed, that the feet get very, very cold. Apparently, it's a big issue. The way this has been communicated and actually mocked up as a prototype, and the imagination that was put into thinking about materials and ways this could work was a really, really clever way of showing how there could be something there that would actually help this problem. And yeah, George has just put it in a nutshell. It's a good example of technology transfer. There's lots of information on this poster when you actually go and look at it. So again, that was a really great piece that we were impressed by. And our final winner is Eleanor Marsh. I don't know if Eleanor's here at all. This is Nicole's gone, yes. Okay, this is the Human Size app. And I don't, is Eleanor here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. Well done.
Oh
well
my
done.
God. Thank you.
And you actually, apps are one of the most problematic things to design, but you really got, I think the thing with this is you got the way you designed the poster, how you connected it all together, and the way you then thought about how it would work. It is as an overall concept really sang out to us all. So
thank you.
I don't know if you would like to talk a little bit about it.
Well, I think I've loved all three of the courses that I've done in design, and I've particularly liked that it's kind of brought out in me a kind of optimist that sees, you know, opportunities to change and improve everything everywhere on an everyday basis. So I think I've really grown kind of in my education and personally, and I love that now. I'm probably a bit of a pain to everybody going around trying to change the world, but Human Size was really inspired by my children, because my eldest at age 11 is 5'10" and doesn't fit any children's clothing that I can find anywhere. And it made me think about how that makes us feel. And I think it can have quite a negative impact. And it's really silly when you think about it, because we're trying to fit into a set of sizes that don't represent us. They don't represent the diversity. They're not, you know, designed with accessibility in mind. Those that don't fit a kind of a normal, which generally is a very beautiful person on a poster. So I thought, kind of in this day and age, we should be able to do better. So Human Size really puts the user at the front of the experience and data, and then uses that because there's data available everywhere. So why can't we, you know, use our actual measurements? I actually did a user survey, and nobody measures themselves, but still goes to a shop to expect to fit into a size. So this is kind of what inspired the project. I did find it challenging designing an app. I did have a few meltdowns that I hadn't got an actual, you know, thing to prototype or to, you know, no 3D sketches or anything, but I am really pleased with how it turned out. And I did love doing the poster, because I think I said it really felt like a good finishing point for my design journey. Like I've worked really hard on the project, and it allowed me to kind of take a step back and kind of look at it as a finished thing, like a finished product. So I did really enjoy it. So I'm glad you liked it. Thank you so much.
Well done. I mean, I think that came across in very much that it was obvious from the poster and the way you'd constructed all of this that there was an awful lot of depth behind it all. And I think Max has put something about how, I've just noticed something that he put a bit earlier on about the way you kind of drew this together, you know, into a kind of final concept that really does sing to us that you were thinking a lot. There was a lot of thought about inclusivity. The research you just mentioned about you'd done the research, it was coming over really well. And then, as you said, because you can't kind of 3D prototype in the same way when it's something in this format, finding a way to do it is more challenging, and you did it really well.
Thank you.
And you really did come over that you'd thought about this, and so very well done. Yes, I completely agree with you. This shop thing, none of us are all standard size. It's a bonkers idea, isn't it? So it's a great concept across the board. So well done. And again, you'll be able to go and look at your own poster as well as everybody else's. So I'd just like to kind of finish off with that, just to sort of conclude by congratulating all the winners that are on this final slide. Big round of applause from all of us to all of you. So definitely great. Who put work in that hasn't perhaps been noted on here, but is absolutely amazing to look at. And there's some she wants to learn from what others have done, and I'm sure that you will all learn from each other if you go and look at what's on the site now. So we are now going to, I think, launch the site. Hang on a minute, you just get us to the right.
Are we not doing the postcards, Dawn?
Oh, nope. Oh, hang on. Where are the postcards? No, we're not. The postcards.
Okay, we have to go to the site. We have to go to the site to do the postcards. Should we do that?
On the site, you will find there are a series of postcards on the site, and you will find there is a winners section at the top of the site with all of the commended and the winners, and the postcard winners are in there, and then they are in sections. You will see that. So again, you will
I can share the site and then maybe go down to that section. Is that all right? Yeah, I'll just share my my window. The let me see if I grab the right one. I think that's the one. Okay. I hope you're all seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah, this is what the site will look like when you go on it.
Yes.
Can you scroll that down?
I do. So we have a welcome, a general welcome. We have our winners and highly commended.
And then you'll
we have U101. We have, my word, so many U101 entries. Amazing. We have T217 and T317. And then finally, we have the postcards. And thanks a lot for, this is a new entry. We haven't had that the years before, but it's a great idea from Georgie to promote our study website, because there's loads of information on there some students might miss, especially if you're in between modules. So we do have, the winner is Alexandra. Alexandra, are you with us? We loved, yay. I can't see at the moment, so you need to help me if Alexandra said she's here.
She is here.
Very good. So what we loved about it is the way you've shown the kind of essence of loads of design activity, that is prototyping, having fun, creating things from things that you find around you. So there's a lot of playfulness inside, but it also shows a lot of what design is about. So we really, really loved your postcard. Do you want to say a little bit to that, Alexandra? I hear loads of clinks, but I can't see the chat.
Okay, I've just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be a disembodied voice, and I'll be a disembodied voice very quickly. All I wanted to show was that before I started this course, I loved making things, but never felt I had the permission to do it, because there's always other things to do. You know, there's housework, there's jobs, there's all sorts of things. And U101 gives you permission to play, gives you permission to get things around you and just do whatever with them. And I wanted to try and translate that for people that maybe felt in the same position as me, that everyone's allowed to play and everyone's allowed to create. And that's
lovely.
it.
That's lovely. I think that's exactly what it captures.
It does. It completely did. We all, as soon as we all saw this, you just got it completely. And you did. It obviously made a big impact on you, and that it is so playful, and it's lovely to see all the kind of materials explored. And I hope you had fun putting it together.
Looks like it.
I did have fun putting it together, and some of it is detritus from U101. You might recognise the squares of post-it notes with the grids on, the bits of green, and little bits left over from one of my TMAs, and the rest was just stuff that was lying around the desk because I'm very messy.
But that's good, because messy means that you end up with things to play with. Did you, just out of interest, did you have more than one go at this? Did you do several variations, or did it come out straight away, or did you play lots?
No, I did it really quickly because I didn't actually have very much time. So it's very intuitive, and things like the smoke coming out the chimney. It's just the way a rubber band falls. So it was just seeing everything in a slightly different way. And I always have a bit of blue tack on the desk, and I'm always it's in a sort of curly shape at the moment, but it's a bunny in the picture.
I love that fun element to it. I think that's a really nice touch.
Thank you. I
well done, really well done. We also do have a highly commended, and that's Daniela. Is Daniela around? Daniela, we really loved your idea as well. That it's lovely to see an idea encapsulated. So again, very simple, and that loads of ideas will come out, but you might not take the first one. You need to work your way through. It's hard work, but also rewarding once you get there. Yes, we really loved your idea of these papers of ideation and moving on. Daniela, are you here? No, good. That's all right. Congratulations if you listen to that later on. So now you're invited to have a little browse.
I think Max posted the link. Oh, are you doing it again? Okay, so the link's in the chat.
I did it again, yes.
And hopefully, if you would like to spend 10 or 15 minutes,
no, not 15, 5 to 10 minutes. You can always look later because we have something exciting coming up.
Yeah, okay, we've got
something exciting coming up, please.
And come and join us back here. So 8:25. Join us back here. We have a really interesting topic that is very of the moment, that one of our staff tutors and Max are going to have a conversation about, and hopefully we can all have a chat about it. Hopefully we'll all learn something from it. Shall we say we'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Click on the link and go and enjoy what you can. It'll be obviously open not just tonight, but go and have a peruse and enjoy.
And see you soon.
See you soon.
hope most make it back again.
Will it be possible to fix the fact that postcards I'm kicking myself that I didn't spot they weren't on the site?
Yeah. They're on the site.
Well, they're on the site, but they're not marked as winners.
Yeah.
There are two. They are. The ones at the top are. They're just not. They just weren't put on the presentation slides for this.
Oh, okay.
That's what we forgot. That's the only thing. They're not forgotten ever, never.
Okay. They're both on the actual site in the winners categories at the top. As highly commended. They're just not. They just weren't
all there. Yeah.
Okay. I somehow missed it.
So how does this work, Dawn? Do I tell you to forward the slides? Right? Is it you that's in control, or?
I think
I'm currently in control.
Oh, can I?
But you can take control.
Can I take control? Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's totally fine. So it's going to be the next slide. You'll see once you take over. It'll be in the presenter view, and you'll see your.
Oh, right. Okay.
Do you want me to start? Yes?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, well, I'm hoping that most people are back. So hopefully you enjoyed your very quick look at the site, and you can go back, obviously, and have a really thorough look anytime from now on. I'm just going to introduce you to Theodora Philcox, who's going to talk to you about coming out of lockdown and reviving department stores. Pretty much what's the situation we're in. Obviously, things have all gone a bit haywire. Lots of shops, buildings have kind of become redundant, and I think between Theo and Max, probably and some other, you're going to start talking about this. What happens? What's happening with these buildings? What's happening with industry? And a general conversation. But I'm going to let Theo explain it much better than me and talk you through it all. And I think, do you want people to contribute as you go, or?
I think I'm going to talk for about 10 minutes, and they can put things in the chat, and then Max, I think, will come in at the end, and we can get ideas about what people think they could do with these fantastic buildings.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much. And so here we go. I'll hand over to you.
So Max, did you say you're putting another slide on? Is that right? And then I move it on?
Yeah, well, I've moved it here. I think you can take over. I'm not 100% sure from this side how it looks.
I don't know what I click. Do I click the arrow underneath? Yes, I think possibly I do.
Here, I can.
Yes, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, that's fine. Hi, everybody. Well done. And there's a couple of my own students got prizes, so well done. I'm really pleased to see that. I'm going to talk to you tonight for about 10 minutes about department stores, and I hope you'll be able to put forward some ideas as we go through as to what you might like to see happening with some of these buildings that are now becoming redundant. I teach U 101, and I also work in the arts faculty as well, and I've been working with retail and fashion students for quite a number of years in my teaching career. And palaces of consumption, or department stores, are something which I actually really love. I think they are beautiful buildings. You can see in the background of my title page there. They are certainly destinations, or they were destinations. I'm trying to move it on now. Oh, here we go. I want you to think about what your relationship is with department stores. You may or may not have a relationship with department stores. Men tend to shop less than women. It might be also dependent on how old you are as to how much you use them. But you probably have relationships with a particular store from your childhood. You will have a connection, or even as an adult. So I want you to think about why you connect with department stores, and this might inform some of the ideas that you come up with as we go through. Whoops, sorry, skipping. The buildings that we can see, if we go back and talk a little bit about the history of department stores, they started around about the mid-19th century, and they were greatly stimulated by the Great Exhibition, because at that point people could see that there was the opportunity to look at lots and lots of different products all under one roof. You could browse, you could eat, you could go to the toilet, you could do all these things which we take for granted now but couldn't until about 1851. And from that point on, the idea of a department store started to grow. And you can see from the slides that they are absolutely beautiful places. They were spectacles, they were destinations, they were places of enormous luxury. And when you went there, you had an experience and you were treated really well by the sales assistants. They would help fit you, they would suggest things to you that you might like. They would get to know you as an individual, and they would perhaps suggest things that were coming in that you might like. So there was a real personal involvement and a sense of being pampered. Slides have moved things around a bit with the text after me having designed them, so sorry about that. In the 50s, they were certainly thriving. And this was because after the horrors of the war, by the 1950s, people started to be able to buy things again. There were a whole load of new products which had just been waiting to come out during the war years. And so women were out there buying things for the home, but also department stores suited their clothing because women wore gloves, hats. They wanted everything to match. So they might go to the dress department and then the assistant would take them to the glove department, then the hat department, and they would get everything to match. So having everything all under one roof was very important. As you go into the whole development of department stores, there is such a range. Perhaps you might not think so today, and that's something I'm going to come to, but back in the 1950s and early 60s, you could buy everything all under one roof. It was a one-stop shop. You could even buy lions. If you don't know Christian the Lion, have a look on YouTube and look at Christian's story. He was bought from the zoo shop in Harrods back in the 1960s and hung out in the King's Road. So these shops back then offer beautiful surroundings, wonderful deep window displays, which people used to go and see at Christmas and other times today. We don't have that today either. So this whole experience of a department store was very present in the 50s and to the early 60s, but then things started to change quite considerably. And this is partly because of the changing demographics in the workplace, how people could spend their money, and it was Bieber that really allowed teenagers, young people, to start to buy things that suited them. Teenagers had existed but didn't exist as a group until the late 1950s, early 60s. But in the 60s they were out there, they wanted to buy their own kit, they had plenty of disposable cash because they were working and still living with mum and dad. And so Bieber, founded by Barbara Hulaniki, offered this amazing emporium where you could buy clothes, where you could buy things for your house. And it grew with her. So she had kids. Whoops, can I go back a bit? Sleeping forward. As she grew, she had children. So she had baby Bieber. As she did up her house, she had interior design Bieber. And it wasn't just a shop. It had the Rainbow Room, which was a psychedelic bar where the New York Dolls, people who were very outre, came and performed. Mick Jagger and people hung out there. You could also go up onto the roof terrace where the flamingos, it's still there, you can still visit it today. It was the place to be, and it was the most visited, or one of the most visited tourist attractions in London. And I think that's the thing, it was a tourist attraction as much as a shop, and this was part of its problem. Even the food hall was worth visiting. You can see all the containers for the food there were in pop art style shelving with the soap suds, the Campbell soup and so on, dog food in a dog. So what it did that was right was that it fitted the 60s customer really well. It was the destination for the young and used to go there to hang out. So you would sit there on the furniture, people used to put makeup on when they went to work and then go off to work. They would try the clothes on. They went there to look and to use, but they didn't necessarily go there to buy. And this was ultimately a big problem. They also went there to steal, actually. Laura Ashley's son used to go there from school in his lunch break, and his mates used to put on about 5 coats and then go back to the playground after lunchtime and sell them, having not paid for them. And so there was the experience, and there was the just the chilling out, the social aspect of it, but it wasn't about buying. So it was too funky for its own good. So this was a swan song really of the department store, and things started to go downhill. Not helped by the recession in the 1970s when people didn't have money. There was a brief spurt in the 1980s, but that was more about the shopping malls and lifestyle shopping. And some of the super malls that opened up across the world were incredible, where they had retailtainment, where you could see their dolphins performing inside the mall, theme parks, casinos, surfing you could even do. So these were things that, again, you go and see, but the poor department stores were on the downward slide out on the edges of the malls and in the high streets. So why is it that department stores no longer work? And you can ask yourself, do you shop at them? And I think probably the older members of the audience tonight probably do. The younger ones might not. If you think about House of Fraser, Mike Astley has turned it into Sports Direct. So when you used to go there and buy your formal wear, now you'll find trainers and leggings and things on virtually every floor. But the young people, I'm sure none of you who are in the youngsters group of U101, you're very unlikely to be getting your trainers and your running gear from House of Fraser. You'll be going to JD Sports, which is really popular because of the way that it's marketed and the way it's run. Who goes to Harrods to buy anything? I go to Harrods to have a look and to take photographs. Who goes to Fortnum's and Mason? The elite go there and they will survive because they have very good, they've got a very good customer base. But the majority of us go there to look and perhaps take our mums for our 60th birthday teas. I can't say that now because I'm 60 next birthday. Again, it's a tourist attraction. They have very good shoes, they have very good food generally. Food always sells, and Marks and Spencer is doing well on the food, whereas the other stores are going. But nonetheless, it's about going to look. So high street department stores, when we really analyse them today, they don't really have a great deal of choice. If you ask anybody who's younger, they'll say we go to speciality stores for our shoes, for our trainers, for our dresses, for whatever. You don't want to be helped to buy. You want to get on and do it on your own. People are turning against consumerism. We don't want to be particularly brandy. We want to be more ecologically aware. We might go to vintage, we might go to get some vintage stuff in the charity shops. Prices are too high. They seem old-fashioned, very middle of the road, rather safe and uninspiring. And there's no sense of experience at all. When you go to your local one, it's a bit tired, it's a bit unpleasant really. And it's not helped that there's no natural light, but then lots of shops have no natural light. But that's important when you're thinking about development, because if you've got huge floor plates, the only way to get light in is to punch through all of the floors and put an atrium in, like those beautiful ones I had at the beginning in Paris. So you've got to think what usage you can really get out of these big caverns of buildings because of the way that they're constructed. Yeah, they are like visiting a museum, definitely experience. So what are your ideas about what we can do with these buildings? Retail is not about products so much now, particularly amongst millennials. They say about 78% of their shopping is about socialising rather than, of the experience rather than buying products. So we need to think about how we make them more amenable to socialising. The fact that they're in key points in our city centres and in the shopping malls is because they anchored the customers. It allowed to bring lots of people into the malls, onto the high street in order to support the other shops. And now it's the other way around. They're dying. So how do we capitalise on their location to keep towns alive both day and probably into the night as well? We could think of the Agora market from the ancient Greek times, where people came together to talk about issues of the day, meeting places, share skills, a bit like people have been doing during the COVID era. We've met together in gardens maybe and talked. We meet in different ways now. We've got to think about mixed usage, and councils are now making this more possible by the way that they charge rates. Products aren't enough. We need to think about what you can mix and match within a building. Can we use the roofs? Can we have pools or spas or bars or even crazy golf or something up on the roof? This is the Van Shop, the flagship store in London, which has the basement converted into a skate park, which is available for small children as well as older teenagers and beyond. It's great for Instagram, so it's a destination in a different way. And there's lots of places that are doing that. And then on a more community-based basis. You've got Havens in Southend, which has managed to get grade 2 listed status, and this is now open to the over 50s. Age concern, I don't like that connected to the over 50s, but age concern, it's a community hub where you can learn arts and crafts, you can do Pilates, you can have cafe meetings, lectures, all kinds of things like that. This is House of Fraser in Princes Street in Edinburgh, which is being converted. I don't know whether it's open yet, but it's the Johnny Walker experience, which is very chic, enhancing the existing fixtures and fittings, a bit like the Dublin Guinness factory. Bradford has turned its co-op building, again it was listed, into a community and contemporary theatre company. We need to keep them. I think we need to keep them. Many of the buildings are important to the local community because they're so big, but the councils can impose certificates of immunity which will stop a building being listed for 5 years, and this is incredibly dangerous because if this happens it makes them vulnerable for demolition, and if they don't get listed status they'll just be turned into flats. So it's something which we need to think about. If we want to keep our buildings, you need to act, and you can contact the 20th Century Society, who are working very hard at the moment to get lots of the stores in the country preserved, including Rackham's in Birmingham, Kendall's, I think it is in Manchester. There's quite a few that they're looking at the moment. They're part of your town's history, and they're probably a part of your own history. And this brings me back to what I said at the beginning. What is your emotional attachment to certain stores? What do you remember about shopping? Do you remember days out with Granny? Do you remember going to have cake with her or tea and toast? Do you remember choosing toys, getting your first shoes? Or as a mother, do you remember having your children's first shoes fitted? Did you buy a special outfit for your first date, first piercing? Wedding lists for those who've got married. You might have a real personal memory of a particular store. So how do we create new histories for these spaces? And this is where we need to get creative. Use your U101, T217, T317 skills to think, what can we do in these cavernous spaces? Can we put on courses? Can we use them flexibly? So one day it could be a cookery course, the next day it could be a jewellery course. Can we have maker spaces, repair shops? Exactly, Carl. We've got the botanical boys at the top there making terrariums rather. You've got a cookery course underneath. Art with wine. You can do these into the evening where you can crack open the Prosecco, or you could have life drawing for hen parties. This television programmes that we see that are very, very popular show there's an appetite for this kind of activity. The Sewing Bee, the Bake Off, the jewellery programme and the Throwdown, they're all enormously popular, and the Repair Shop, of course, which is enormously popular. How can we bring every age group in? So we've got opportunities from the cradle to the grave. If parents are making pots or making jewellery, could we put our children into other art classes so that there's childcare laid on where they're learning as well, or learning together with their parents? Golf, neon golf, glow-in-the-dark golf has been very popular for corporate activities. Could we put those into the dark spaces of these cabins? What about Kids Worlds? Kidsania is where children can dress up and become policemen and judges and whatever in little junior communities, and there's even adult versions of these as well. And then what do we do overall? We need to make them symbiotic so that if we have retail in the basement, not in the basement, sorry, in the ground floor, say on the next floor we can have the maker spaces and the classes going on, then we can have co-working spaces for the networking and maybe even capitalising on the skills being developed below. This one's just around the corner from where I live. It's just a brand new one. And then on the top floor, on the roof even, we can have the beverages, the refreshments, the food and everything else, so that people are supported in every way. Parents can work because there's care for their children, they can create because there's care for their children, children can have fun, people can network, share skills, and people who make the food can make money because there's a constant audience. And all of these activities can go on from 8:30 to midnight. So what's the not to love? So that brings me to the end. Let's discuss. I found this shop which is actually called OU, which I thought was quite amusing. It's a Chinese fashion store. So I didn't see all the chat because I thought it would take my mind off things, but there's lots going on in there. So I'll hand over to Max whilst I recover from that.
Yes, thank you. I was going to work more as a sounding board with what's going on with the chat. And then maybe just as we're going along, think about some different perspectives to this. This is one view of retail spaces and department stores, but there can be the other opportunities of thinking about them as really beautiful, as Theo talked about, potentially residential opportunities for more accessible spaces. They are completely flat. And so they can be super accessible for a lot of people. They're centered in really, really great places. And it's just the idea of thinking and opening up and starting with what Theo's talked about and being able to build on that about what the future could be for everyone and anyone, really. I think there's some really great comments. Bex, for example, talked about the feeling that these places can be designed to focus on spending money anyways. So even if they are about well-being, they can still be these consumerist spaces. And the idea that you can't access them unless you are ready to spend money. So if there's ideas on that, Theo, if there's ideas from others, oh, there's a raised hand. Let me just see who that is. I think it was it Megan? Yeah, Megan. Yes. So go ahead. You can speak.
Hi. We actually have a lot of big buildings like what you were talking about and the area that I live in, and some have been demolished recently, and some have been turned into. I think the council's had a lot of issues with them being old buildings, and they're listed, and they can only have certain uses. And it seems to me that sometimes there's too many flats being built. But one of the things that did happen with one of our biggest department stores that closed down, it was really old, was somebody took it on and they had the idea of putting individual retailers in there that didn't necessarily have a brand. It was just something that they did personally, whether it was clothes makers or artists. And it didn't go well at all. I know there was a young man that put a lot of money into having a salon in there. And it just didn't work. People went in, and because things weren't cheap, they left. And I think the problem is that I think there was a survey done a while ago, and people were saying that they wanted to spend money on leisure, not consumerism. They wanted experiences. And I think these big buildings are better suited to being turned into spas and gyms. And I think one of our buildings just now has just been approved to be turned into a new sports centre. Because I just think no matter what way you try and put the retail back into buildings, I just don't think everybody seems to want things for nothing now, unless they've got money. If a shop's closing down, everybody's first there in the morning. But if things are being sold at a rate that people need to live, I don't think anyone's interested. It's all moved online now, and it's very difficult to come away with that, especially now with the pandemic. It's even harder to encourage people back into retail. That's just from what I've seen in my area.
Theo, did you want to say something on that?
Sorry, I was just laughing at Fasten's remark about me looking 60. Sorry. Yes, I do agree, and I think the experience thing is something which is really being pushed by a lot of the people who are developing these. And Alex's comment as well about growing things and turning things into being more self-sustaining in many respects. Prices, I think, are always going to be difficult when you do get independent retailers. It's particularly handmade kind of things that can be quite difficult, and you've got the difficult balance of making it still look very beautiful and being doable in terms of price. It's very, very tricky to make things work.
There's a point I was thinking about with COVID, and with being able to leave lockdown. One of the things that's come up is apps. Every restaurant you access now is app based, and I think that those aren't going away anytime soon. And one of the futures that was proposed about retail spaces or about clothing shops was the idea that you don't have the gambit of selection as you did before. It's not back stores filled with clothing, but instead it is these experiences where you go on without pressure to try on clothing, and then you can go through the app to order what you prefer. So the service that's there is really only there to consult you about what works or not for you. And I think that that's something, especially with the millennial culture, that's been come in of they don't want to feel, or there is a desire to not feel pressured into things, and to be able to just sort of lounge about the experience. And that's going to be a really big point with retail spaces and these big department stores, to have that ability, sort of as what Bibo was doing back in the early days of department stores, but actually having technology on their side this time and being able to purchase things whilst you're there, almost like wedding registries.
Yeah. I think what was said about the online experience, I think, yes, we will keep everything online a lot, but I think it's been spoken of that the mundane things we bought online, we don't need to squeeze our toilet rolls. So we know what they are. We can buy all the kind of mundane stuff. And then the stuff that's really important to us, as you say, like the things that we want to actually go and experience, that maybe want to try out that sofa and things like that, those things we still need that interface with the object. Definitely millennials. I mean, this is what one thing at my age, I find it quite difficult because I don't even use a mobile phone. So it's apps for me, pointless. So there's always going to be well, for a while, there'll be those older people that won't want to use those, but it will evolve definitely. And it will be app led. It will be online led. So we've got to think, how do we make shopping that experience again that we need to interact in a social way? And I don't know whether guys do this, but girls always used to go to changing rooms together at school, after school, try on all these things and say, don't I look beautiful in this? Maybe guys do this, I don't know. But that social aspect of shopping, you just can't do it online.
Sorry, can I add in? I think that maybe you might be slightly older than me and Maxim might be slightly younger than me here. But I think that whole checking out sofas and beds is probably a very intergenerational thing. That's something that's never probably going to change. There are certain things that across generations is going to always be, I don't want to put on a pair of shoes I've never tried on.
Yeah. I
don't want to check out a sofa. I want to check out a bed. Is it going to fit for me? There are certain things that you are going to want to go into a store for. That's never going to change, because you're not going to be able to check out how good a mattress feels or how good a pair of shoes feel unless you put them on.
Completely.
So there are certain things that you're never going to be able to do online.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there are some
By
points.
the way,
about
Maxim, I love your necklace. So.
Thank you. My little pearls.
It's great. Looks good on you.
And that I got at a marketplace. The Brick Lane market. So that
are you American too?
Canadian.
But
the idea of department stores is a bit antiquated for some people who want to sort of like authentic.
It's department stores versus whatever is it called here. So, what part of Canada? Sorry, I gotta ask.
Montreal.
Other side of Canada for me.
Do we have Derek? Derek was going to pop in.
Yeah, sure, Theo. Thanks very much. So I wonder whether is there a way to almost not invert the thinking that's going on there, because I'm sure that some businesses have already done this. So you've touched on the notion there, both Max and CJ as well mentioned it as well. It's finding those products that we intend to have a value relationship with, something that we already know we will need to, understand a bit more than just, as you say, Theo, squeezing a toilet roll. Although, having said that, I'll come on to stationery in just a minute. Is there a way of inverting it and actually saying, well, hang on, that relationship has actually been proven now, or we've got lots of evidence to demonstrate that those kind of value relationships between people and made objects, they tend to be more sustainable. They tend to lead to different relationships. So is there a way to say, well, rather than putting stuff that we know people want to have, a feel of, like try a bed or whatever it is, can we change behaviour? Can we use these spaces to actually invert that and say, here's some objects that you might not have thought of that you might want to have a value relationship with? So it's almost like it goes back to that notion of curiosity, Theo, that notion of the original department store of going in to see these things that you didn't expect that you might want to, have a relationship with, if that makes sense. That's a slightly different business approach, if you see what I mean. That makes sense. I'll just quickly flip back to the stationery one, because that was an idea that we came up with. It was one of the U101 tutorial day schools that we had. It was personalised stationery. We were talking about stationery fetishes and favourite pens and favourite paper. And it was the idea that you can actually totally hyper-personalise your perfect pen and your perfect paper, whether you like perforated, whether you like dots, lines, no lines whatsoever, what thickness, what thinness of sort of paper. So that notion of having that really detailed experience of these little apparently trivial objects. Yeah, as I say, I'm wondering whether there's an inversion that could happen with the kind of product chain, if you see what I mean.
Like a fetishist store for stationary addicts.
Yeah, let's just go for it. Yeah. Yeah, let's call it touch and feel. Yeah.
Everyone likes a good notebook, though, so.
Absolutely. And it's deliberately moving away from the app, not because, you know, it's a good thing to do, but because of that notion of engaging different senses or different ways of interacting or knowing about objects. I don't know.
We do touch, don't we? When we go into shops, I touch things. I don't even know why I'm touching them, but and same with garments, you just do it. And you think, why did I touch that? We're very hypersensitive to that now with COVID. Like, oh no, we can't touch. So
I think it's you want to know how a piece of cloth is going to feel. So you touch it because you're like, oh, am I going to like this piece of clothing? You touch it, it's like, oh, I don't like that. Or, oh, I like that. I'd like to wear that.
But I touch it even if I've got no interest in buying it. I just touch it as I go past as a kind of...
Not quite that bad. Not quite that bad, but
This also ties in with the reality that we're all designers or somewhere along those lines, and that is our sort of fascination. And so not everyone will feel that way when we think about the masses.
What is Smiggle is overwhelming.
It is.
I can't even walk into that store. It's like bright lights and sparkles
and smells.
Oh, I can't. I walk by it and I'm like, that's too much. Too much.
Right. Well, I'm just conscious of time, and it is starting to get late for some people. And I'm wondering if it'd be useful to wrap things up. So, Dawn, did you maybe want to come back and just give a closing statement with all of this? In the meantime, we can thank Theo for all of the provocations about the future of department stores and thinking about what that will look like and how we will all contribute to it.
Yeah, it was really fascinating, that was. Or some of the things that you were explaining and some of those images, you forget how stunning some of these building interiors are. And that, you know, really was a great flavour of, you know, I think there must have been, I was thinking about what you were talking about, actually, and thinking, I'm sure that there was a thing about the personal service that was all to do with it when they first started, wasn't it? So, and we don't have that so much demand.
But not in the average store, absolutely not, no.
Yeah, it's just as times move on. But yeah, that was great. Thanks, Theo, for that. It certainly gives food for thought. And when you were talking about Bieber, I just thought, I've got a Bieber lipstick that someone gave me in the 1980s. I've never used it, and it's half used, but I've kept it because it's Bieber.
Yeah.
Just, you know, what am I going to do with this? It's Bieber, you know. So it's just, so when you were talking, it was bringing back all these memories, certain things, and Woolies and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, there is a real history with those things. So I will wrap up anyway, but thanks everybody, and it's been great to have the contributions from everybody else popping in, coming up with ideas. It's great having these discussions about ideas for the future, because this is how we're all moving forward anyway. You know, we need to do this, we need to do it more and more. And Max, thanks ever so much for your contribution in that. It was really interesting and helpful to sort of hear the debate going on and everything. So first, you know, it's been a really great evening. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and I hope you all enjoyed looking at the posters and some of the examples so far, and listening to that conversation and thinking about the points that were made and what were said, and that you've had a nice time. But I'm sure that, like, everybody's ready to go off and well, not watch football because it's not on tonight, but do something else and relax for the rest of the evening. So if you don't forget that we don't just have the website, we also have links on to social media links. We have Twitter, blog, so go and click on there, click on the sort of Instagram, and, you know, like us or whatever else. And I just would like to say finally a big thank you. I know this was all, Rachel already mentioned this right at the very beginning, but a really big thank you to the students that have been a part of this team. So you know, just sort of say to Harriet, Hayley, Alex, and Emily, thank you so much for your involvement, for wanting to get involved, for putting the time and effort into doing the work along with us, and likewise to Max, Georgie and Nick for putting all the energies in. I know Max has done loads, and it's been really nice. It's been a lovely event, and do spend time going through the website whenever you get a chance. Go and have a look at the show, and don't use it in the future, people. If you're students, don't forget it's there. It's good to go back and dip into when you're moving on to your next modules. It's, you know, it's there as an inspiration. It helps you to share ideas, so remember that. Okay.
And a lovely thank you to Dawn for hosting and helping organize all of this as well.
Thank you.
A great applaud to you as well. And I'll let you wrap up.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. I'm hoping that you enjoyed yourselves, and thanks also Rachel, Derek, all the other people, Theo, that have been involved, and have a really lovely evening and a really nice summer rest too. And night, everybody. I'll log off now.
Thank you so much, Dawn, and everyone was amazing. Thank you. And students, if you want to be exhibition designers next year, hold the date. Okay, I have to sign off as well because this one needs to go to bed. Okay, have a lovely evening. Bye.
Bye.
Well done, Dawn. That was really, really good. And Max, thank you very